I was homeschooled, and yeah, I went to a bunch of crazy Christian schools, and we had some really, I think, like some questionable curriculum. You know, our school didn't believe in like evolution or science or accreditation. So, I mean, I was taught things like that Adam and Eve had a pet dinosaur, or that atheists don't dream at night. So I lived inside this very tightly controlled bubble of awareness of the outside world. Well, we all do, really. It's just that mine was probably a lot smaller than yours. But when I turned 14, my parents sent me to the public high school, which was a big deal. I'd never really been exposed to people outside our little cult before. And I went there. I went to the public high school, and I didn't know anybody, and nobody knew me. So I'd be eating my sandwich alone at lunch, and the Halloween party was coming up. And I thought, oh, well, this could be my big coming out party. This could be my debutante ball. And my parents let me go, which was amazing, because I thought for sure they weren't going to let me go to a Halloween party because it was immoral. By which, of course, they would mean they didn't have it when they were kids. So I thought, this is perfect. I'm gonna make the perfect costume. Everyone's gonna see how funny I am. They're gonna love me, and this will just break the ice, and I'll be the king of high school after this. So I worked on my costume all day long, and my mom helped, and she put me in the green family station wagon and drove me to the high school. And I went inside to the auditorium where the party was, and I started walking around, started nodding at people, hanging out by the punch bowl, trying to engage people. The people weren't really that interested in me. They weren't coming up and talking to me at all. In fact, they were kind of forming a bubble around me, and everywhere I went, people just sort of spread out and dissipate. It was like I was walking gonorrhea or something. And after a couple minutes of this, it occurred to me that it was probably because nobody else there was in blackface. I had thought, well, it was the perfect costume. I'd shown up as Buckwheat from Little Rascals. And, I wasn't very convincing as a black person. My skin was really more sort of a diabetic orange than like authentic African American. So I'm walking around, everyone's avoiding me, naturally. And finally, one guy works up the courage to come up to me and he says, "Hey man, that's racist." And I said, "I'm not a racist," which of course is the first thing you say if you're a racist. But then the other people worked up the courage, the other people saw him break the silence. They all started coming up to me and telling me how racist it was. And this was not an enlightened school. This was, a semi-rural high school on the outskirts of Eugene. The most famous people to ever come out of our high school were the Dairy Mart murderers. And if they thought you were gay, they would confiscate your vest. That actually happened. There was a guy I went to school with who he liked to wear a vest like a blackjack dealer to school, and his parents thought that he was gay because of it. So they sought to shut down the source of his gay power by confiscating the vest. So he would have to smuggle it to school in his lunch bag, and he'd, strike a blow for. He was like the Underground Railroad for vests. Turns out they were right, though. He was totally gay. But anyway, it was a blue-collar, really unenlightened school. And yet I was surrounded by these rednecks who were all coming up and like, "Hey man, do you realize you're dehumanizing an entire race of people?" Like guys in Popeye cat hats just coming up and berating me for being there in blackface. So I got really defensive. I tried to explain how it wasn't racist, it was an homage to Buckwheat. And so then, sure enough, at this very moment, the one black guy that went to the entire school walks into the door. And they're like, "Let's ask Donald, come here." And at that moment, I just realized, holy shit, I'm a fucking racist. This is just the worst thing ever. And I'm just sitting there in blackface, and I had to leave the party. It was just after that, when I realized what I'd done, I left, and my mom was going to come pick me up in like 3 hours. It was an late party, so I just kind of stood out there behind the bushes. Luckily, the blackface worked as a very excellent disguise at night, and I was just sitting there like two pair of white eyes just beaming out into the night, waiting for the green station wagon to come get me. And it occurred to me afterwards that I wasn't really so much racist as I was just unaware of racism. I had lived within my tiny bubble of consciousness so long that it never even occurred to me that how easy it is to sort of trample the humanity of other people. And I think, that in a lot of ways, what's been going on the last few years with the Black Lives Matter versus the All Lives Matter, or the arguments over police violence in this country, are really America arguing with itself as to whether or not about the fact that it's shown up to the party in blackface. And I think that for me at that moment, I realized that my bubble of reality and awareness of the world around me was much too small to incorporate the common humanity of other people. So my life since then has really been trying to push this bubble out. And I think as a person or as a civilization, you either are working to expand that bubble of our common humanity and your understanding of other people, or you die. And that's pretty much it.